Gentlemen, which Nicolas Cage movie is better, Con Air or The Rock?
Face Off.
Face Off is great. It's better than both of those, but I'm asking this for a specific reason.
Con Air.
Thank you. I was alone today. Alone. Because I was the only person to say Con Air. Everybody on the show ridiculed me. I got it in the chat. A lot of people on our Opiner chat as well. Everybody was against me. And I have to say, The Rock, while fun, very overrated.
I wouldn't say it's overrated, but I don't consider that like a Nicolas Cage movie. When I think Nicolas Cage, I think of him starring in it. I think National Treasure. I think Con Air. I don't really think The Rock. When I think The Rock, I think of Sean Connery.
Even though Sean Connery's really not, he's like, what, in half of the movie?
Still in the movie. And I always think of Sean Connery because he's like the captain, right?
It's been a minute since I've seen Con Air. By the way, is your mic on?
Oh, is it not? Hang on. Damn it. On now.
All right, there you go. Just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa.
It's a Sean Connery movie. Con Air's not. Con Air is a Nicolas Cage movie. National Treasure is. Wicker Man. Even Face Off, because even though I don't consider that a John Travolta, they're co-starring in it. Yeah, I'd consider The Rock a Sean Connery movie, not a Nick Cage movie. Bunch of San Francisco homers, if you ask me.
That's what I say, because there's this whole, car chase scene in downtown San Francisco. There's the ridiculous scene where the missile is shooting towards Candlestick. Ed Harris is the bad guy, kind of sucks. Like, he has the mission and he's this evil guy, and then you realize he's not really that evil, and his crew turns against him. It's a fine movie. It's a 90s popcorn action flick. But I think Con Air has a better cast, and it's more entertaining, in my opinion.
Can't say that it doesn't fall into that same category, though. I mean, Con Air is super corny in its own right.
No, of course it is. I mean, put the bunny in the basket. Yes, yeah. There's some corn to it, but John Malkovich is the bad guy. I think is a little more entertaining than Ed Harris. And like The Rock, yeah, it's okay. It's kind of Michael Bay, over the top, ridiculous bullshit. I would also say, like, the only thing I remember really from the movie is Sean Connery's line of, what was it? Losers go home. Winners go. No, I'm fucking it up, but winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
Well, you also have a very interesting taste in movies. You're very hard on movies, I'd say.
I'm not saying. Listen, I'm not saying The Rock is not good. I'm just saying that if you had to, if I had to choose between the two movies, I pick Con Air.
Yeah, and again, I reiterate, The Rock is not even a Nicolas Cage movie. That would be my overall argument.
But he's in the movie.
Sure, but it's not what I consider a Nicolas Cage flick.
Because he's not over the top and ridiculous in it?
Yeah, it's not Nicolas
He's got to scream.
Yes, unnecessarily. Gone in 60 Seconds from Ernie. There you go.
Gone in 60 Seconds is a great movie. Let's go.
That's right. That was the first Nick Cage movie I ever saw.
Okay, have you seen some of his slept-on cult classics from the 80s where he goes just apeshit?
Raising Arizona.
Raising Arizona is a good movie.
Yeah. But none of the other ones. I haven't seen, like, Leaving Las Vegas. I think he won an Oscar for that.
That's actually a good movie, too, and probably his best work. And at one point, he was a good actor, and then along the, into the weird stage of his life where he was bankrupt because he bought a bunch of islands or bought a island. Then he started doing ridiculous movies. But early on in his career, have you ever heard of a movie called The Vampire Diaries or something like that? No, not The Vampire Diaries. It's something with vampire where he thinks he's turning into a vampire, and it's absolutely ridiculous.
I haven't seen that one. No,
I gotta look the actual title of the movie, but there's a scene where and we probably have talked about this before because we're doing the podcast when that movie came out where he was playing himself. Remember that? I forget the name of the movie. It's long and convoluted.
Yeah.
But in this vampire movie, there's just an incredible scene where he's arguing with his boss or his psychiatrist. I forget who it is, but he was just like, you have to put it in the right file according to alphabetical order. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. He does the whole fucking thing, and it's hilarious.
Yep. Yeah, I know which one. I've seen the scene, never seen the movie. Are you talking Vampire Diaries?
Is that the name of it?
Or, excuse me, Vampire's Kiss.
Vampire's Kiss. A lot of these movies are. Have you seen the famous YouTube video back in the day called Nicolas Cage Loses His Shit? Where it's all of his it's highlights of his fantastic work over the years of screaming. And yes, Vampire's Kiss is one of the highlights. There's another one. Are you looking at his filmography right now?
I am, yeah.
Okay, what's the one with Dead in the title?
The one with Dead in the title?
There's like a movie in the late 80s where he's a supporting character, and he wears this wig and this mustache, and he's wearing glasses. And
Deadfall.
Deadfall, yes. He plays like this drug dealer, and it's just ridiculous. Where he was like, "What am I, fucking stupid, man? Huh? I know what this is. This guy's gonna squeeze me out of him and his cousin. We'll be la fucking French, man."
You remember the quote, but you don't remember the movie.
Yep, this is it. That's the movie. Yep.
That is terrible.
Can't remember the name of the movie, but he gives a fantastic over-the-top performance.
And the homeboy from Terminator.
Is that the Terminator?
Well, no, it's not the Terminator. It's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it's John Connor.
I'm sorry. Yes, John Connor. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Well, so there we go. We settled that, Stephen. You're with me.
Yeah, it really got you, huh? Like, you normally, when you do that, I've noticed this in the podcast because we're doing our 238th episode. When something bothers you from the show, you really need to, because you're a producer and you can't get your opinion out there. You really need to just unload when you get to the podcast.
Oh no, I said my piece on the show today of why I thought Con Air was a superior film, but yeah, I just wanted to gauge the interest of everybody else because I didn't think I didn't think it was that that controversial of a take. But I'm assuming I pissed off a lot of Bay Area people because the movie takes place in San Francisco.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm just looking at everything. When I was a big fan, or I still am, but kind of like sounded like Mitch Hedberg doing his drugs joke. I used to love drugs, but I used to too, or whatever it was. Anyway, Dan Le Batard, the peak of his show, in my opinion, was when they were doing punishments, right? You know how we do the hot sauce punishment or whatever.
Don't I?
Well, they have a whole bunch laid out, and they do this whole, what they call a grid of death. And I'm not going to get into it, but basically they have to do punishments during the football season if they get a prediction wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the punishments was watching, I believe it was 24 straight hours of Nick Cage movies, or it was 12 straight hours of Nick Cage movies.
Yeah, 24 seems excessive.
Yeah, but they literally live streamed the entire thing of this one dude just watching Nick Cage, and
hey, that's good content.
It's amazing.
Have you ever heard of the IHOP challenge?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did on the Chris Long podcast where you have to eat the amount of hours you can take off of 24 hours at an IHOP.
Yeah. Someone did that in a 24-hour McDonald's, and like each menu item was worth a certain amount of time that they could take off that they were when they were sitting there in the 24 hours. Yeah. I'd be able to eat my way through that. I wouldn't be sitting in McDonald's very long if that was the case.
Well, could you eat 24 pancakes at an IHOP?
Yeah. See, I stuff easy with pancakes. Like
yeah,
that's I wouldn't survive in a pancake house. With McDonald's, I could just keep eating it.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Give me like.
What about Taco Bell?
I mean, you know me, dude.
I know, but like after a while, it's like a ticking time bomb. After a while, you just shit your pants,
bro. If like cheesy gordita crunches were worth like a minute off your time, I'd take an hour off of that. I'd eat 60 of them. Wait, yeah. Or no, not 60. Whatever.
Yeah, math is not our strong suit on this show.
Yeah, not right now.
You could eat 60. You could eat 60 gordita crunches, but you couldn't eat 24 pancakes.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Steven, we got the NBA draft going on right now. We got
Really?
Yeah, we do.
Oh.
Did you not even know?
Yeah, I knew. It's more of a joke on, it's a satire, a play on the fact that no one cares about this year's draft.
Thank you, Steven.
There's less hype for this draft than we've heard in quite some time.
Yeah, I know. Our guy Mark Spears has been coming on with us, and he's like, "Yeah, this draft is unpredictable." We're like, "All right, Mark, it's unpredictable because nobody cares." Like tomorrow, we'll be like, "Where's Bronny going to go?" And I'm like, "I don't really give a shit where he goes. If he goes to the Lakers, then we're all going to be like, oh, that's what we expected." But I'm glad you said that because I was worried you're going to be like, "Yeah, this NBA draft, they're doing good things. They're doing, the NFL thing where they do one night and then tomorrow they're going to do night two." And it's like, who cares? I don't care. I don't know anybody in this draft besides Zach Edey, who went against 9th overall to the Grizzlies. But I have serious doubts that he'll actually be a good pro.
Yeah, you're really down on him just because of his lack of talent, but sometimes size is all you need, man. And if he continues to grow into that body and fills out that frame, you never know.
Hey, man, I'm just telling you what I see. I don't see a NBA player in Zach Edey. I just see a big, tall man.
Well, I am officially rooting for Zach Edey.
See, and that's why I figured you'd be all in on this NBA draft just to go against me because you hate everything NFL and I despise everything NBA for the most part.
I don't hate everything NFL. I hate free agent talk with two very specific players.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Steven, because we got rumors swirling in the NBA right now, and all I care about is Justin Simmons and where he's going to sign. So let's talk about that.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
No, I'm kidding. Justin Simmons will sign right before training camp. Let's talk about NBA rumors going on right now, or actual stuff that's gone down. So last night, Mikal Bridges gets traded to the New York Knicks, and you should call them the Nova Knicks right now because basically everybody from that championship Villanova team is on that team. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, and now Mikal Bridges. And God, the Brooklyn Nets got back in return, I think, 5 first-round picks. I believe that was the compensation. And hey, we'll see about Tom Thibodeau's job this season. If they don't, go to what they expect this season, then you could see probably Jay Wright coaching that team. But yeah, so that's the biggest trade so far in NBA circles. There was one earlier today. Malcolm Brogdon got traded with, I forget who the player was, but he's going to go to Washington. Probably not for long because Washington is terrible. OG Anunoby signs back with the Knicks. The Knicks are just loading up right now, so they're trying to compete with the Boston Celtics in the East. You got an opinion on that one?
It's fine, but to trade away your entire future for a guy like Mikal Bridges is just, I don't know. I'd say I'm bearish on it. I don't really like, they're going to win a lot of games, and I see the vision. I see what they're trying to do. They're trying to recreate this Villanova team, but is Mikal Bridges really going to be the guy to put you over the top in the finals? I know that they're going to need, or to put you over top in the playoffs. I know they're not going to be as hurt as they were last year. You can't go without mentioning the fact that OG Anunoby was basically playing on one leg in that last game. God, that was sad during that series. But like, and Bridges he's a very good player, but is that really the guy you want to trade 4 first-round picks for future unprotected first-round picks? And then I think a 5th one is protected. Do you really want to do that for Bridges? I'd see it, but am I going to put the Knicks as my favorite to win the East next year? No, not based off that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think it was just a move to get some more familiarity with the current roster right now, and I don't know why they're wanting to build this team up based on Jalen Brunson's old friends, but whatever. I mean, They look good on paper. I don't know though. I mean, I still would take Boston over them, or even the Bucks. We'll see what the Bucks though. They could be making some moves pretty soon here. But let's just get to the rumors going on currently with the Golden State Warriors.
Hmm.
So
You know what? Real quick,
yeah, go for it.
to respond to AJ Cruz here because he responded to my Zach Edey thing. Timeout, nice guy. Wiseman is big for nothing. Size does not guarantee talent. Wiseman's a different case. I think Wiseman's very talented and he's got the size. I just think that he's had a career of development that has gone haywire. Whether it was not playing at all in college or starting off the season with the COVID year with the Warriors and then hurting his meniscus, I think later on in the year to keep him out for the season. And I don't think he's found the right place yet. I'm not giving up on Wiseman. I actually think that he can. I think that he can. He's 22 years old. Like if I'm keeping the faith on Wiseman. I just am. I'm not giving up on him.
You know he's a free agent, right?
Yeah. They didn't pick up his contract, but the Pistons are a dumpster fire. Get him out of there.
So bring him back home.
I don't know if he fits on the Warriors now. The Warriors
No,
got plenty of other needs. I wouldn't do that, but I think he can flourish somewhere else.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know about James Wiseman. It may be also kind of a mentality thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. He very well could flourish somewhere else. But I would say also this, with how little talent the Pistons had, for him to not be a starting 5 player, that probably is an indictment on him.
Maybe, or Monty Williams was just trying to get himself fired and then he can get the rest of the $85 million over the next 5 years without having to coach another second with that team.
Is that what you truly believe?
I don't truly believe it.
You're just throwing out hypotheticals.
Look, man, it's a business and you go to a team, you can get your money. Why not?
He could have got his money with the Suns. He didn't have to coach with their team.
Hey, man, he got his buyout with the Suns and he was playing Killian Hayes way more than he was playing Jaden Ivey. Like, he was not making smooth roster decisions. You can't tell me that Monty Williams was making the right move.
No, probably not. But I'll tell you this too. Never thought Monty Williams was that great of a head coach to begin with. I'll say that.
All
right. To the Warriors rumors. Today, Brian Windhorse, as I call him, Windbag, dropped a wind bomb on us. That'll probably be a fart. But in this situation, the wind bomb was that the Golden State Warriors want to go all in on acquiring Paul George in a trade. And they're prepared to give him a 4-year max deal. Now, this is all contingent on Paul George opting into his contract that would give him $48 million this season. And there's also rumors that Paul George will be willing to stay with the Lakers, stay with the Clippers, where he's from in LA, if they guarantee him a 4th year. But they're not willing to do that. So at the moment, there's a lot of momentum gaining for Paul George to be a Golden State Warrior. What do you think about this?
I love it. Told you from the last podcast. You can stockpile draft picks and then put yourself in a position like the Brooklyn Nets, where they seem to be going nowhere fast after they were the 8th seed a couple of years ago, and they actually had some stars. Look, man, you only have so much time left with Steph Curry, Steve Kerr, Draymond Green, probably not with Klay Thompson if you're bringing Paul George along.
Yeah.
What better way to go all out than to bring in Paul George? Like, we talked about it. The options are, there's not many of them, right? And we don't think this is really a championship team with them moving forward, but there aren't really many moves they can make right now that will prepare them for the future because they don't really have that many draft picks. They don't have a first rounder this year. A first rounder would be huge. And getting that James Wiseman pick wrong and just not having him pan out, like, that's just, I don't know, that proves to be just worse and worse after every season. So I just think that bringing in a guy like Paul George, 2-way player, the health is an issue. Can't go without mentioning that. But damn, I think that would make for some interesting basketball. And, that starting 5 would be hard to beat. And, you get a second-year Brandon Pajemski coming off the bench. Obviously, Andrew Wiggins would probably be gone. Jonathan Kuminga probably gone. Moses Moody maybe gone.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's in the starting 5 you're thinking of?
I'm thinking Steph.
Okay.
I'm thinking Paul George can play the 2, but you probably want him at the 3.
Yeah.
Draymond at the 4. And you probably you probably mix things up with Pajemski and Steph Curry in the starting 5 then,
Okay.
and have him as a sort of combo guard.
Yeah, I would say that there is no scenario. Not Warrior fans should get their mind out of this. There is no scenario where the Warriors get Paul George and Jonathan Kuminga is not part of the deal. I just don't think there's any way possible that now there could be a three-way trade. The rumor is, I guess, that if Paul George were to leave the Clippers would be very interested in DeMar DeRozan. And that could potentially be a three-way trade where you trade Paul George to the Warriors, DeMar DeRozan goes to the Clippers, and you could potentially give Jonathan Kuminga to the Bulls. But I don't think there's any scenario where the Paul George goes to the Warriors and Jonathan Kuminga remains on the team. He is the most attractive trade piece that the Warriors have. And it sounds like Moses Moody is the guy that they want to move the most. Other rumors that are circulating right now, Logan Murdoch had this one that the Warriors are aggressively trying to trade Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul, which is no surprise there. I get that. But Monty Poole says that the desire is they do not want to trade any of their young guys. So that would be Kuminga, Moody, Trace Jackson Davis, or Pods. And that's not feasible to me. They cannot just trade away Chris Paul and Andrew Wiggins and get Paul George. They can't because the salaries don't add up, and you gotta have someone attractive in that part of that trade. So I would ask you, and I would ask Warrior fans: are you willing to move off of a young Jonathan Kuminga for a 34-year-old Paul George?
Yeah,
I would too. There is a lot of potential in Jonathan Kuminga, but I also kind of roll my eyes whenever Warrior fans just are so enamored with him and like, oh my God, Steve should play him more. I've seen Jonathan Kuminga. He flashes at times, but I don't think he's a difference maker. I got to be completely honest. You can move off of him, and I think it'd be fine. But also, I would say, yeah, okay, Paul George makes them better if we're not going to have Klay Thompson on the team anymore. But Paul George is also 34 years old. Give him a 4-year deal. He'd be 38, and I know, that doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but okay, it makes him better. But does it make him that much better? Like
yes.
I was listening to Bob Myers today, and Bob Myers basically said, okay, you trade for Paul George. You also need Klay Thompson on the team as well. The way this Western Conference is loaded. And I think just getting a 34-year-old Paul George to go with a 35-year-old Steph Curry and a 30-year-old plus Draymond Green does not make you one of the best teams in the Western Conference. That I don't see that.
I think you're disrespecting Paul George a little bit. You're using that age thing. Keep on saying a 34-year-old Paul George. He's still a very, very good player.
He's a very, very good player, but he also has been injured in the past few years.
Sure.
And he has been on these, like I said last podcast, he has been on these super teams with the Clippers and the Thunder. And I just don't think that it really amounted to anything in the end.
How many games did he miss this year?
I'm not aware of that.
8. That's it.
Okay.
So it's like, I hear all of that. I hear everything that everyone is saying, but what happens if you keep this team together? I think they got to make some sort of, they got to take a chance. They got to take a risk, because as constructed, like, I disagree with Bob in a way, saying you need Klay Thompson. I don't think the Warriors need Klay Thompson. Not this version of Klay Thompson. Bob Myers knew a different version of Klay Thompson. This is not the same version that Bob Myers worked with for all those years. I ask you, if they don't do anything, okay, they keep Klay. They're probably not going to. I don't expect Chris Paul to be on the team.
No, I don't either.
Chris Paul said as much. Like Chris Paul said, literally at the end of the year, whether they keep me around or not, whatever. But we'll see what the future has in store. He's acting like he's not going to be around. I just wonder what you think this team's going to look like if they don't make some sort of big move. There's a reason why they're being aggressive. It's not just Brian Windhorst who had that, like, that report. I don't know if the Warriors are aggressively pursuing George. I just think that Windhorst got some intel that there's a team who's interested. And I wouldn't be surprised if Paul George's agent like let Windhorst know, hey, we got this team who's willing here, just so you could add to the leverage that Paul George has with the
Oh,
Clippers.
of course, that shit happens
And
all the time.
like, I have a source here that's telling me this. Yeah, and the Warriors probably don't want that out. But I think it's more telling what Ramona Shelburne said a couple of days ago on NBA Today, how they're in on every free agent, every name that you see pop up, they are in on it. So I think that's more telling. I think they're going to make some sort of big move, and if they don't, I just wonder where everyone thinks this team's going to go from here, because I think we could all agree that the team that they put on the court last year is not going to be the one that puts you over the top. And am I saying that's going to be automatic with Paul George? No, but I think you have a much better chance of contending with Paul George than with these other guys.
No, I agree. I mean, I like Paul George's game. I liked him when he was younger, but I think Paul George makes you a better team. But how much better, Steven? Like, if Paul George goes to the Warriors tomorrow, where would you put him in the Western Conference right now?
You probably put the Thunder at the top, Timberwolves. The Mavericks. You'd probably put the Mavericks up there.
What about the Nuggets?
Probably put the Nuggets up there.
I put Nuggets number 1.
Yeah. I think the Spurs are going to be a little bit better next year too.
Well, don't forget the Grizzlies with a healthy John Morant.
Yeah, but I'm still putting the Warriors within that top 8 if Paul George is on the team. And if they do make some sort of trade, so they got to get something back in return. Kind of like the I was thinking the wrong thing. You got to get something else in return, like a lower level player, like a player you'd be buying for the mid-level exception in that sort of trade. You can't just get Paul George and trade all the way those pieces. You got to get something else from the Clippers. I don't know what that would be, but you got to get something else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, had to be a little give and take there, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think that yes, it would make them better, but I don't know how much better. And yeah, the West is loaded right now, and the days of the Warriors just being the juggernauts in the West is over. And I think there's definitely more parity in the Western Conference than there was in the past. No one expected really the Mavericks to be that team. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I would be down to do it, but I'm not like gonna go crazy over it. I think it would be a very interesting move, but yeah,
I'm not going to sit here and tell you like during the podcast through the season that I'm not going to sit here like lamenting that they didn't trade for Paul George if they don't, and they're just towards the bottom of the Western Conference. But I'm interested in seeing them take a chance because I just don't know what this team has right now.
No, I get that. I could also see this being just a leverage play for Paul George. Bob Myers said this too. If the Clippers at the end of the day just say, okay, we'll give you that 4th year, then I could see Paul George be like, okay, I'll opt in.
Yeah. I'd have Paul George over Jimmy Butler. I'd have him over Brandon Ingram. It's crazy, dude. The leverage play is wild. He's just like, yeah, well, I got other teams that are willing to trade. I'll accept the option. You could trade me. Or if you don't trade me, I'll just decline that option and I'll just walk an unrestricted free agency and you get nothing. You lose. Good day, Steve Ballmer.
Which is interesting because, and I like the Willy Wonka reference, if Paul George does opt out, apparently the Warriors cannot sign him. They're that much low on cap space. So the only way they can acquire him is through a trade. I don't know all the ramifications. I do not know NBA contracts as well as I do NFL contracts, aprons and all this shit. I just don't get it. But when you say, I know Ramona Shelburne said that the Warriors are all in on every free agent. They're very limited with that because they don't have a lot of cap space. So they can really only make trades to acquire talent. Which is why, like today, I was asking JD, could the Warriors sign OG Anunoby? He's like, no, they can't. There's no way. So it's limited. And because of the limitations, Paul George is probably their best option.
It's an intriguing option. I don't know if it's their best option, but...
Well, you like it better than Jimmy Butler.
Yes. And I think he'd fit in much better with the roster than Jimmy Butler would. I think Jimmy Butler needs to be the alpha wherever he goes. He needs to be the top dog.
And Jimmy Butler, just the latest news with that is he does not want to sign a contract extension. He's willing to play his final year on his contract with the Heat if the Heat want to keep him.
Right. That's no surprise. I think he's made for Miami. He's perfect for Miami.
Yeah.
But I just think we were just talking so much last year. We don't really know where this team's going to go in the future. You can't blow it up. You can't just blow it up because you still have Steph Curry and you don't want to waste that. You can just continue with the same roster, largely the same roster, and hope Andrew Wiggins just looks like the 2022 guy, but that's just so that you're putting so much on that. That's banking way too much. Or you retool and try to build around Steph. I mean, what are you left with? Not much in terms of depth, but
yeah,
I don't know. That's why I'm kind of at this point where I'm just like, do whatever you got to do. Do something crazy. Do something wild.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. And this was not really a source of any kind. It was kind of like another aggregating, or as JJ Redick said in his press conference, a content farming. Or no, what was the term he used? Was it content farming?
Engagement farming.
Engagement farming. Engagement farming site. I never heard that term before, and that's hilarious. He brought that up.
Huh.
One Twitter account has the Warriors potentially trading Andrew Wiggins to the Milwaukee Bucks for Bobby Portis. What would you think of that move?
I like Bobby Portis. If that means getting rid of Andrew Wiggins, okay. I mean, look, if Bobby Portis is in return, then fine. I think you've gotten the best out of Andrew Wiggins, so I'm in on that. But Portis has also shown, like in the playoffs last year when he got ejected, sometimes you got to control what you can control.
Yeah, I mean, he's volatile, but he's a good player. That would be interesting. I don't think that's enough, though. I don't think it would be straight up Bobby Portis for Andrew Wiggins. But I have heard Andrew Wiggins' name linked to the Bucks. A lot of people say he would fit there. Tom brought this up today. I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently the Indiana Pacers were very interested in Andrew Wiggins during the trade deadline, and that was basically the move that they ended up going with a better offer of Pascal Siakam. So that's how that deal ended. But people say Andrew Wiggins' trade market is very low. I think there's some team that'd be willing to, go after him. Maybe a Dallas, maybe a, Milwaukee. We'll see. But I mean, at this point, I think the Warriors fan base would be very disappointed if they didn't end up with Paul George. If Klay Thompson does end up leaving, which seems like a strong possibility at the moment.
Yeah. And look, either way, fans are going to be unhappy. They're not going to be happy with anything this team does because of how many championships they've seen and how much they love Steph Curry. This fan base will, Derek, let's be honest, this Warriors fan base will never be satisfied.
Oh, I know.
They will, no matter what they do. And maybe we take too much from social media, which is a problem with all of us in sports. And we got to realize that social media is not the masses. Social media is the loudest of the fans, sometimes the most diehard, but it's not everyone's opinion. But if you go through that, if you're just taking what you see on X game by game, yeah, it can be toxic at times. So you're never going to see a satisfied fan base, but I think it would have them looking forward to the season more than, say, if you ran it back with Klay Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. During Mike Dunleavy's press conference, he said, I forget the way he phrased it, but basically he was saying I like the team we had a year ago. And I think we all listened to that and was like, do you really? I mean, it was okay. They were the 10th seed. There's got a way to improve it, though. He basically said, I'd be good with the team we constructed a year ago if it came back. And that's, Mike Dunleavy's very good at lying in press conferences. So I would say, yes, they're looking for significant upgrades. But Paul. I would say Paul George is a bigger upgrade than last year trading for Chris Paul. We all were kind of like, that's interesting, trading away Jordan Poole. But yeah, man, I think something goes down in the next couple of days here with Paul George. We'll know if he stays with the Clippers or he is traded. And then, yeah, Klay Thompson. Basically, I would say this. If Paul George is traded before Sunday to the Warriors, that basically means that Klay Thompson will not be coming back. And I think the sense that I'm getting is we should all prepare for that anyway. Come Sunday, it's going to be like the NFL tampering period at 3 o'clock on Sunday. Be prepared for Klay Thompson to be leaving to go to the betting favorite right now, the Orlando Magic.
And we'll be live during that time.
Yes, we are. Everybody, for the Opiners, everybody watching or listening right now, me and Steven will be live on 3 o'clock on Sunday at 3 o'clock, and we will react to all of the free agency news in real time. So,
damn right.
Tune in for a fuckery of NBA free agency.
Couple of things from the chat. Ernie 1. Portis broke a guy's jaw. Yeah, that was Nikola Mirotic on the Bulls, and if you remember, that ended Mirotic's career. Mirotic was actually pretty good.
Yeah,
he was a decent 3-point shooter in a time before 3-point shooters, the 3-pointers were, kind of still growing in the early stages of its evolution. And Mirotic, just his career kind of was over after that. And from the skills report. Well, one of them, you guys remember that time Steven made the comment on Derek's baldness for no reason at all? I responded, which time?
Yeah.
But also, he said, my colleagues at KCBS did a fine job updating traffic this evening. A fire was at the 780-680 junction where I needed to go tonight. Yeah, you know what? Shout out to KCBS. I'm going to say this. Working in radio, done a few jobs in radio, not many. I'm not going to act like I've done every job, but done pretty much everything. Traffic, my God, traffic is hard. Like doing traffic, I do not envy those who have to do it. Maybe I'd learn someday, but the terms you got to use, actually directing people are relying on you to give you that information and to do it in a clear, concise manner. And by the way, the Bay Area is huge, so you got to get to a lot of different places. It's a hard job, man. And they do it like on the fly. They don't write no script. They don't have like sound prepared or anything. They're just looking at maps. They're getting information. They're working. Yeah. Shout out to all of them. Shout out to Kim Wonderly, who does it in the morning. Victor Saragosa, Big Daddy Victor, who I see all the time. Yeah, you remember Big Daddy?
Of course. He's doing traffic now on KCBS.
Oh, yeah, he's been doing traffic.
Oh, my man.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great.
Let's get him on the pod. We'll do a Three Amigos reunion.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. But so shout out to all those who do traffic at KCBS. It's not an easy gig.
No, dude. You know what? I rely on Gianna Franco's tweets in the morning with CBS locally here. If there's the things going wrong with Bart, if she tweets something out that's like things are going weird, then thank God for Gianna.
Yeah, right. You never know how much you need that information until you actually get caught in the traffic and you're like, damn, Google Maps didn't tell me this.
I know. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone. I'm just tweeting out everything that happens in the draft, and I'm looking for trades if anything's going to happen tonight, but it doesn't look like it. There was a big old tease yesterday when the Brooklyn Nets and Rockets made their draft pick trades, and Woj, this was hilarious. Did you see this? Woj first tweets out, why did the Brooklyn Nets and Rockets make this trade? Because they want to get their draft picks back. And they were hoping to trade for Kevin Durant if he were made available. So Woj tweets that out at like 7:15 last night.
Mm-hmm.
Then within the span of 4 minutes at 7:19, his update of that report goes, well, the Rockets initially wanted to trade for Kevin Durant. That's not going to happen anymore. They will turn their sights to other possible veterans to trade for. It's like, how that changed that quickly?
Woj, like, even though he is the go-to guy and has been for a while, he's also the guy that's emblematic of the reporters who want to get to it first.
Yeah.
That dude truly wants to get to whatever the report is first.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that he put that out there in the span of 4 minutes. Someone was like, no, they're not trading for Kevin Durant.
If he was the characters in Rat Race, he would be Seth Green and the brother who couldn't talk. He would if he could get to a report, he would do the equivalent of shutting down all the flights, hacking into the mainframe, and hacking. And by hacking, I mean just driving your truck up to the satellite.
So he's not John Lovitz in the situation.
He's not John Lovitz. No, he's not making his daughter poop out the car or going to the Barbie museum, which actually was Klaus Barbie, part of the Nazi regime.
Yep, drives Hitler's car.
Yeah. One of the all-time
get $1 million, you could buy yourself a bunch of hummus.
It's one of the all-time great scenes when he's driving, when he steals Hitler's Mercedes Benz, and then gets his hits his face into the steering wheel, gets the mustache in the middle, then crashes into a World War II memorial.
Don't forget that the lighter gets caught in his throat, so he can't speak. So he sounds like Hitler, and he's talking to a World War II memorial, just like trying to talk. And he's like, they're like, oh my God, who is this guy? It's good comedy, people.
Oh God.
I was actually talking about Rat Race the other day with Adam Copeland, and I brought up the part where Kathy Bates is the woman selling squirrels on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, ma'am, please, we don't have time to buy a squirrel. Okay, I heard you the first time. Just go down this road right here. And they drive and they fall off the cliff, Whoopi Goldberg and her daughter. And as they're driving, she sees signs. You should have bought a squirrel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We need more comedies like that, man.
We do. I need to find Rat Race on streaming somewhere. It was on Amazon Prime, and then it went away.
Find it and just it's an all time. It's great.
Mr. Kamichi. By the way, shout out to AJ Cruz here. I saw your text, AJ Cruz. I apologize. It was a long day on the show today. I was waiting on show for them to play the Dreams promo from the wine line. They didn't get to it. AJ Cruz is a great impression of I forget. Oh, it's Mr. T from Rocky III, and he calls himself the Mexican American Dream, and he cuts a promo every time he comes on. So I guess AJ Cruz left us a little promo in the wine line. If I could find it, my man, I will make Dusty Rhodes. Thank you, Dusty Rhodes. I will find the wine line and play it tomorrow. If we have time, we do have a short show tomorrow after the Giants game.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. Mr. T, sorry, yes, I confused Mr. T with Dusty Rhodes. I'm not a big wrestling guy. Sorry.
It's okay, Derek.
Sorry. Dusty Rhodes, yes, the Mexican American Dream. Apologies. Steven, how's Hayden Songbird Singing in the Dead of Night doing?
He's doing well. He's doing all right.
It's a great name.
Yeah, he's at 83 pitches right now. 84. Or he's at 83. 84. We'll wait. Number 85's coming.
All right.
Could do this for the rest of the show, just for the rest of his outing.
No, that's okay. We don't need to do that.
It's a ball. It's coming up on pitch 86. Actually, that might be illegal to do. No, he's doing, dude. I mean, he's got the baby face. Only 22 years old, and he's got
a great name. Great name.
He has a fantastic name, but been kind of waiting for him and Carson Wisenhunt to get called up. I'm glad right now he's flourishing, but I don't know. It's just when the Giants get all their guys back, like what if Birdsong looks like he could be like a legit starter? Are they going to send Keaton Wynn down to AAA? They're probably going to start Blake Snell because of all their money they're paying him. Obviously, Kyle Harrison's going to start too. This is going to be interesting to see if Birdsong can crack that fifth spot in the rotation. But then you get Robbie Ray and Alex Cobb. Do they got to move some guys to the bullpen? Going to be tough.
Yeah. Lastly, on Kevin Durant, real quick. Just wanted to end that convo of trade stuff. Apparently, Shams is reporting that there's zero chance that the Phoenix Suns trade Kevin Durant, and they shouldn't, because I'm sorry, but they went all in for that move. Kevin Durant wanted to be in Phoenix with Monty Williams, but he got fired. There's no more places for Kevin Durant to go, in my opinion. He needs to stay in Phoenix and he needs to win there. That's what I think. There's no more. I want to go someplace else. This is it, Kevin. You wanted to be there. You wanted to go to Brooklyn, and then you wanted to go to Phoenix. This is it. This is the final destination.
Did Shams have the report?
There's zero chance of that?
I mean, the owner basically said there's zero chance.
Oh, well, he may have just taken that.
Yeah.
Well, Matt Ishbia actually tweeted out something. What does it say, Steven?
NBA draft night is the best. Everyone talking about the drama and storylines. Some are right and some are just wrong. My turn. Phoenix loves Kevin Durant and Kevin Durant loves Phoenix. And we are competing for a championship this year because we have the team to do it. Gotta love draft night. Go Suns.
All right. Man, so this guy's going to be mad, or Jim Irsay, with just tweeting out what the team is actually going to do.
There's a whole podcast on his rise to becoming the owner and what he's done. It's a Pablo Torre Finds Out podcast. I got to listen to that. There was a clip I saw in there that was pretty damning. I got to listen to the whole thing, but this guy is he's a wild card. I'll say that.
I've heard some things too. Although it's probably better than the old owner they had with the Phoenix Suns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a
little bit. I want to do a new segment here on Just Your Opinion, man, Steven. We haven't talked Raiders in a while.
Yeah.
And, you and I are kind of known for being the Raider guys. And I think some of our best conversations is when we stroll down Raider memory lane, good or bad.
Yeah.
So I want to do a new segment that we'll do from time to time called Raider Reflections. And it will be where me and Steven kind of harken back to our childhood of Raider mediocrity, or is that putting it lightly?
That's putting it lightly. Raider mediocrity is some of my best years as a Raider fan.
Yeah. But we remember mostly the bad times. And since NBA free agency is going on right now, I wanted to bring up the rare time where the NFL free agency was going on during the summertime. It was during the lockout season of 2011. And God, Steven, if we had to do a podcast then, if you thought I go crazy during free agency then, or free agency now, 2011, where we had the lockout, that whole entire offseason, there was no free agency, it was brutal. Like, we didn't have free agency until right before training camp. Then everything was rushed. Still a great season. It's some of the best passing seasons of all time with, I believe, Aaron Rodgers won MVP that year, and Brady threw for a ton of yards. Matthew Stafford threw for 40 touchdowns. Drew Brees, still a great season. But the offseason was terrible. Every day, I remember watching NFL Network, and Rich Eisen was getting mad. He was yelling at Jason Lockett-Fora for not having any new news on what was going on with the CBA. And then finally, they struck a deal, and we started free agency. But that also was going to be a sad time for Raider fans because Nnamdi Asomugha was going to hit free agency. And Nnamdi was a great corner with the Raiders. He had some weird start off to his career, wasn't the best, came from Cal.
Well, he was a safety, right? Al
Davis wanted him to play safety.
And then he moved to corner, eventually moved to corner.
Yes. Well, Al was like, he wanted him to play safety. And then, by the way, last podcast, I brought up the Airport Hilton. And I was like, Al Davis used to live there for some reason. Check with my dad. Reason why Al Davis lived at the Airport Hilton, because he got old and he lived in the Oakland Hills. And his body was too frail to live on steep hills. So that's why he lived in the hotel. Actually makes sense. So, yeah, but Al wanted Nnamdi to play safety. And Nnamdi was not going to play safety. He was totally against it. So he stuck to corner, and he struggled for a long time. And then I think in 2006, when the Raiders were awful, that's when Nnamdi broke out. I think he had like 9 interceptions, and he was great. He was one of the best corners of football. And then the 2010 season happened, and he had a solid season. But I remember the last game of the year, he didn't play. And he did not hit the incentives that he was supposed to hit in his contract.
Yep.
And for whatever reason, that was able to void his contract for the upcoming season. So he had free agency. And I think Al was so mad that there was a loophole that Nomney was able to get out of. And that was when Al was slowly dying. That was the season that he died against, the game against the Houston Texans. The day before was the announcement that Al Davis died, and then went into Houston. I remember being at that game. God, that was nuts. Raiders won that game on the Michael Huff interception. But yeah, the offseason. So Nomney hit free agency, and Raider fans were just totally shocked because there was no expectation that Nomney was going to hit free agency.
Yeah.
And it became pretty clear that Nomney wanted to get the fuck out of Oakland. And I was so upset because I love Nomney, but I mean, you knew that if you were playing for the Raiders then that things weren't great. So he wanted to get out of there, and there was rumors that he wanted to go play in New York because he wanted to be a Broadway star. His girlfriend was Kerry Washington. He wanted to act with her. And the rumor was that he wanted to team up with Darrelle Revis. And I was like, Jesus Christ, if it's Nomney and Darrelle Revis, that's going to be the greatest cornerback tandem of all time. Then Nomney did not end up with the New York Jets. He went close by to the Philadelphia Eagles and signed a big-ass contract and left the Raiders.
Yeah.
And it did not pan out for Nomney in Philly. He didn't. They made him be the lockdown corner. He had to travel with the best receivers. I remember my dad bringing up all the time that Nomney was never going to travel with the best guy. He always stayed on the right side or the left side, whatever it was, but he never traveled. And then he got really exposed when he went to the Eagles. So, yeah, I remember Nomney being one of my favorite players, and then I was so mad that he just stiffed us and walked to go to a better team.
Yeah, it's a what could have been situation, not due to injury, but had he stuck with the Raiders defense, the Eagles, like they were playing, I think like zone coverage during with their defense, whereas he was a press man guy. He's one of the best press corners in the game. It's just when you look at the rich history of the Raiders cornerbacks, there hasn't been that many, but there have been some legendary names, right? I mean, Mike Haynes, Charles Woodson,
Lester Hayes,
Willie Brown, Eric Allen. Like they've had a rich history with cornerbacks. And really, that was the last great one that I could think of, one that would be worthy of a contract extension. And I think we should actually call him by the name that Paul Tagliabue called him in the draft. We should call him, he is known from now on this podcast, Ashmoga Namdi.
Have you ever heard Al Michaels call him Namdi Asamuga?
Yeah, I used to do that when I played Madden 06.
It was the Brett Favre game. The Brett Favre game where he came to Oakland and his dad died the night before.
Yeah.
And he was just bombing on the Raiders. And I remember Brett Favre throws a touchdown pass to Javon Walker over Namdi Asamuga.
Crazy.
And, yeah. No, man.
You want to hear a crazy stat?
Go for it.
Because really, like, you can't look at statistics to define Asamoah and his career because no one would throw his way. Like after that 2006 season, after that 2006 season, just one interception, 3 of them, 2007 through 2009. And you want to know the craziest thing, just to show you how bad that offense was in 2006. I think they had like the fifth fewest points scored by an NFL team in a single season.
God, so bad.
They scored 12 total touchdowns that year. 12.
Yeah.
Passing and rushing.
Okay, hold on. Are you on Pro Football Reference?
Yes.
Okay, I want to say they scored a total of 192 points the whole season.
No.
What was it?
168. 168.
Okay.
But they did that with 12 touchdowns, right?
They were shut out, I want to say, 3 times that season.
Namdi Asamoah had more passes defended. He had 19 passes defended, and the Raiders scored just 12 touchdowns that entire season.
Dude, that 2006 defense was playoff good.
Yeah.
But the offense was probably the worst in NFL history.
It was so bad.
Oh, dude, Andrew Walter and Aaron Brooks. God, you know why? Because, I mean, people want to make fun of J.J. Redick being coach of the Lakers. When Al decided to go get Art Shell again, I was like, good God. And he hadn't coached in 8 years. And then Tom Walsh, who was running a bed and breakfast, was his offensive coordinator. God, it was so fucking terrible.
Right?
It was
Awful.
embarrassing.
Yeah. But
Going-
with that
Oh,
being
go ahead.
said, though, it's just one of the great what could have been, because what could have been had he been on a good team
Yeah.
during his prime. You know,
Yeah.
because when he did go to Philadelphia, he did turn 30. You put him in a new defense after what, 8 years, 6 or 7 years rather, of being 8 years of being with the same defense. Yeah, it's going to be hard to replicate what he was doing there. I mean, look at all the great corners. How often have they really stayed the same compared to with their previous team? Look at Darrell Revis,
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore. I don't know. I'm using more recent examples. But had he been with a good team, damn it, I think we'd be talking about Nnamdi in a much different way here. I think a lot of people remember him as the shutdown corner who didn't get thrown his way, but he wasn't known as like a winner.
No.
You know?
No, he was on
never
terrible
got put-
Raider
He
teams.
never got put in those situations. You know, speaking of, the only one who did really pan out with his future team was Charles Woodson. He did
Yep.
fine. He did
Yep.
fine with the Packers.
No, he did. But yeah, man, Nnamdi could have been. I mean, I still think he's one of the best corners in Raiders history, but his time was brief. What also happened that offseason, I don't know if you remember this, Steven, but Nnamdi leaving wasn't the biggest deal to me because we were all expecting it. Do you know who left in free agency that year that really killed me? Zach Miller. I was so pissed off about that because Al could have franchise tagged Zach Miller and it would have been easy. Instead, he's franchise tagged Cameron Wembley, who was okay, just average pass rusher. And then I remember talking to my dad that summer, just be like, are we getting Zach back? And my dad was like, Al's not doing well. Al's kind of on his deathbed, and I don't know if he's going to get this done. And sure enough, Zach Miller went to go sign with the Seahawks, and it fucking crushed me. I was so mad.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. I mean, he was great. He was great.
Yep.
He was one of the best in the league.
Now, Zach was good, and then he was gone just like that. And then never really panned out with the Seahawks. But, yeah, I hated that. Speaking of Raiders news lately.
Well, hang on 1 second. We're doing like Raiders reflections. I got one
Yeah.
thing here. AJ Cruz sparked something. He mentioned Jack Tatum. I mean,
Safety.
Jack Tatum, he was a safety.
Yeah.
But still, Jack Tatum, one of the all-time greats. So you know how I told you there's like these the sports Emmys are a good way to get a grasp on like the documentaries that are out. They do like outstanding short feature, outstanding long feature. They do all these different things.
Yeah.
And I watched a bunch of the short features that they did. And there was one, and speaking of Jack Tatum, that they did on Daryl Stingley.
Yep.
And Jack Tatum with the hit that gave him a spinal cord injury that put him in a wheelchair. And obviously we know the name Stingley because of Derek Stingley Jr. playing with the Texans. Well, there was a whole story about that. John Madden created a connection with the Stingley family after that. Apparently, he was visiting him in the hospital all the time, and they became like really good friends. And this promotion or this little feature done by NBC, it connected Madden and the Stingley family. Then Derek Stingley Sr. and the son of John Madden, I believe his name's is it Jack?
He has two sons, but I believe so.
I'm not remembering. I could be wrong on it, but like they met up at John's old house in Pleasanton, and he was showing them all the memorabilia and stuff like that. And I don't know, just one of those little things that you don't really hear about too much, and it makes you wonder like what's happening in sports nowadays, the stuff that you don't see behind closed doors, that you won't hear about until decades down the line. It's a story that not many people knew until this feature came out. So I don't know if we're talking Raiders reflections. That's just a little story there with Jack Tatum. It kind of sparked my memory of that.
Did Jack Tatum ever visit Daryl Stingley in the hospital?
I'm not sure. They didn't mention that part.
Yeah, I remember the footage, the NFL Films footage that I've seen. They've interviewed Jack Tatum when back in the day. And his reaction's not the best, where he's just like, yeah, man. I mean, that's just football sometimes. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like, Jack Tatum was a badass, but I don't know if the man had much remorse for what he did.
Well, he was called the assassin.
Yes, he was.
A guy who goes out and hits like that does not have much remorse for anything.
No, I mean that's fair. His nickname was better than Lester Hayes, though. Can you imagine today, Lester the Molester?
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually went to just to keep talking about John Madden for a second. I went to John Madden's studio where he, when he was alive, would have his viewing parties to his family and everybody that wanted to show up, his friends, where people would come and watch the games on Sundays and put all the screens up and watch football that day. I was there when I was working at Atomic Productions. We were filming a commercial there, but God, I would have loved, while John Madden was still alive. My dad always wanted to do this and never, asked John to do this. It would have been a great experience to go to his studio, sit with him for a day watching football, and just have all the games up on the screen and just experience that.
That would have been so cool.
Oh yeah, it would have been awesome. Speaking of Raiders, I saw in the chat here, and the Ernie's actually messaged us about this. Do you see what's going on with Antonio Pierce and his wife?
Yeah.
His wife had filed for bankruptcy and I guess owes $28 million. That's
what it looks like.
Not to that. I do wonder why stories like that are made available to us, the public, because at the end of the day, who gives a shit? Like, that's Antonio Pierce's life. That's his business with his wife. It may affect him too. I don't know. But, okay, I don't think that's going to really impact him coaching the football team. It's a sad story, but I don't think it's one that we really need to have an opinion on.
No, but I do think that you could be concerned from a potential off-the-field distraction, which I think is very valid, but I don't know. Antonio Pierce's wife going through something financial, I think, is the least of the problems that we could see with this Raiders team this year.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. So I that's a rumor. I don't know if that's valid. I'm not going to really comment on that. It's just something that people deal with as adults, and I don't think it really needs to be something that Raider fans or Raider reporters or anybody should be that concerned with.
No, but if something happens this season, like, they need their head coach, man. He's going to be the one that rallies the troops.
He'll be there. He'll be there. I don't doubt that. Other stories, though, I wanted to bring up about football people, significant others. We haven't brought this up. What do you think about Bill Belichick dating a 24-year-old?
No comment.
You're treating it like Belichick at a press conference? I'm not going to comment on that.
We're moving on to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
It's an adorable story, man. They met on a plane. She showed him her schoolwork. And he's like, I'm very impressed by your school. Thanks for teaching me. I'm going to
Wow, you colored inside the lines. That's impressive.
But we got an answer now. We got an answer for where that walk of shame was from. Apparently that was from her neighborhood.
Hey, yeah, in Quincy, apparently. That's what it looked like. Look, is it gross? Yeah, but I don't know. Love is love.
Love is love.
Love is love. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I really don't.
Yeah, love is love. That's look, he could do whatever he wants, man. It's Bill Belichick. I don't know. It's just, oh, can you imagine? Like, what if her dad was a big football fan? You just, Mom, Dad, I'm bringing a surprise boyfriend over for Thanksgiving. Hope you don't mind. Don't worry, he's not busy. He's not on a team this year. What? What do you mean? It's Bill Belichick. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. The dad's probably like, all right, bring him over. We'll talk cover 2.
Can you imagine, though, if her dad was like a Jets fan and he was like, you son of a bitch. It's one thing to date my daughter, but you're going to leave us standing on the altar back in 2000 when my baby girl was born? How dare you?
I don't know. This was made public though. Like I think some of us would be floored with if we heard like all the stories that weren't public about some of the relationships that these athletes have, people involved in sports. I think some of us would be like, "Oh my god." And
Well,
yeah.
I mean, most famous one was, I think, didn't Karl Malone date like a 15-year-old?
Yeah.
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 Look. Hey, man, I don't like to judge, but that's a pretty big age gap. Like, what the hell they talk about?
It's very much it's very much a big age gap, but you know.
So Kendrick played, They Not Like Us 5 times. Well, that's interesting. That's going for the juggler right there.
So put this in terms of, I don't know, MASH. Put this in terms of All in the Family. Like, which it's just like Archie Bunker going after. Like,
Yeah. Okay, I got another one for you.
Oh boy.
Did you see Kelly Stafford, Matthew Stafford's wife, going on her podcast and saying that back in the day she was so mad at Matthew that in a fit of jealousy she dated the backup quarterback?
Yeah, that's toxic.
Yes, but also the way that it was shown on social media I thought was not fair, because the way that aggregators described it was she slept with the backup quarterback. And that's not fair, because what she's describing doesn't sound like there was a sexual relationship. So I don't think that's fair to say that happened. Like she's, just passing herself around to make herself, or make Matthew jealous. Like I don't think that's fair. However,
Yeah.
if I was Matthew, I'd be like, babe, you don't need to tell that story.
With all the dating news that's come out with this sort of stuff or whatever, combined with the Hawk Tua, like the jokes just flying around, man.
Yeah.
I know there's the money and the fame and you're set for life. God, I don't know if I could take it mentally being an athlete in this day and age with social media. I don't know. I don't know if I'd be able to. Not at least a star athlete.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, those are just some gossipy NFL stories. You wanted to bring up some soccer stuff, right, Steven?
Yeah, I want you to hear this, all right?
Okay.
So think of it like this. It's the Euros, right? It's a tournament going on. And think about it like this. They have what's called the group stage, and they have 4 teams in each group. Yes, Tacky. Wait, is Jimmy G going to getting a tour with Mrs. Stafford now? Yeah, that was the joke to come out of it. Yep. Jimmy G has the chance to do the funniest thing ever. But Jimmy has his pick of the litter. I don't think he'd be going for a starting quarterback's wife.
Plenty of porn stars in LA. He'll be fine.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. Plenty of OnlyFans. So Jimmy G OF. So in the Euros, separate it's like the World Cup. They're all separated into groups. The group stages are pretty much like divisions. Think of it like that. And they're teams of 4. Well, in the England division, in the Euros, their division sucks. And it was super boring. And here's my favorite part. They got first place in the group because they tied at 0-0 against Slovenia. After a 0-0 tie, they took first place in the group stage.
I see why you wanted to bring this up with me.
And the amount of goals that were scored between the 2 teams in that, or the 4 teams in that group, England, Slovenia, Denmark, and Serbia, I believe there were 7 goals total out of the 3 matches between those 4 teams. I think that was like the fewest amount that's ever been scored from a group in a Euro before. I could be wrong on that, but it's definitely one of the lowest numbers in the history of the tournament. And it's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know how much I hate ties in
Yes.
American football, but it's very common in soccer. So that shit will happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But to dictate what exactly happened, it was a championship.
No, it was just it came down to the final matches,
Final
the
matches.
last matches in the group stage, and had Denmark and Serbia were the other match that was being played, and that one ended 0-0. 0-0.
Yeah, you can't have that end in a. I'm sorry. There's no shootouts.
Nope.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's frustrating. That is frustrating. Did I ever tell you, God, 10 years ago, what was the match that America was in that went 0-0 that
Don't-
tied?
You'd fool me. I don't know.
So 10 years ago, I forget who America was playing at the time, but there was a match that ended in a tie. And I remember sitting with my friends at our bar in Austin, Texas, and I was like, "All right." So I was dead ass serious. They tied, and like in the closing seconds too, like maybe 5 seconds left. And I was like, "Ah, shit." So I remember just sitting there with my friends who knew soccer better than me, and I was like, "Ah, all right. So when's this overtime start?" And they looked at me like, "Dude, are you stupid?" That's why that was so devastating that they just tied the game. It's like you can't end it with a tie. What is this?
You're so American, dude.
I know. I'm sorry.
But here's the interesting thing is and I can't find the video, and to be honest, we'd probably get it taken down from the live feed just because it'd be copyright. But
Hasn't stopped us before.
yeah, I know. But much like in any sport, the fans, even though they're the top of the group stage, moving on to the round of 16 and have been to the final in the last Euro and the semifinal in the World Cup, fans have totally turned on their manager, Gareth Southgate. They want him gone because he's not playing the younger players. He's not playing the right players, and they all think he should be fired, even though they won the group. And cups were thrown at him after this last match. 0-0. They were throwing cups, even though they moved on. Just
Plastic cups?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I watched a video.
You know, if I was there, Stephen, I would picking those cups up and bringing them home because I don't have many cups.
This is true. You could use them.
Yes.
If only they could throw them at you. If only there was a portal from Germany that goes straight into your apartment and just has all the empty cups just landing.
I don't know if I would like that.
Yeah. But all the England fans were like, he needs to fucking go. Yeah. This team is built to win. We are the fucking favourite, and we score nothing against Slovenia. It's so sophisticated, man.
Hey, man, we all think that we're diehard fans for whatever team we support here in America. It pales in comparison to what soccer fans or soccer hooligans do.
Yeah. That's why I'm wearing, actually, my mom gave me this for my birthday. It's my dad's old shirt. Can't keep calm. England is playing.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And then what's the Cool Runnings story you got?
Oh
Steven?
God, no! I don't want to equate it to Cool Runnings because that was like a movie about hope. This is just a sad story out of the Olympics.
Okay.
It just, I feel terrible for her, but Athing Mo, that's her name. Athing Mo. She won the gold medal in the 800 meter in the 2020 games. She was the favorite to win at the trials, the U.S. Olympic trials going on right now. See who qualifies for Team USA, and the favorites normally win. Go to the 100 meter dash. You got Noah Lyles and Sha'Carri Richardson, who look primed to get gold this year. But Athing Mo also was primed to go for gold. She's 22, and she had that Cool Runnings moment where she got tripped during the 800 meter. And at first you're like, oh my God, it's a thing from Cool Runnings. And then when you're watching it in real time, you're like, wow, it is genuinely sad seeing that happen. Like it makes you, I just felt terrible for her. So I don't I don't even want to make like a joke and say, well, maybe she could go on to start a bobsled team or something like that for Team USA. Like, no, like there's no jokes that could be involved in this. It was so emotional because she was like the easy favorite to win, and she ends up getting tripped on the 800 meter. Just
That
sad,
sucks.
man.
That
Oh.
sucks.
Oh,
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah, I know what that's like, man. On the way over here from Bard, I saw a woman fell and right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh God, you need help?" She was like, "No, I'm just humiliated." I was like, "It's okay. Well, I'll fall." And she was like, "No, it's so embarrassing." It's like,
Oh.
"Yeah, it's okay."
Dude, one time I got tripped when I was running track and field. I was a freshman in high school. I ran for the track team, and I didn't play baseball that year. I ended up playing sophomore year, so I settled for track instead. And one time I was running I used to do the mile. I did the long distance. I think 1,600 meters. I think that's what the mile was.
Okay.
Or 1,500. I don't even remember. But I got tripped in the opening lap. It's hard, man, when you're running in that group. Like
Yeah.
I was always nervous about that. I'm like, how the hell do you run? How the hell, like, it's crazy watching it on screen. But I got tripped, and I have never been more infuriated in my life. I got tripped, and because guys are running the mile, they're conserving their energy. They're running a little slow to start out. I sprinted towards the guy who tripped me and bumped him.
Ooh.
Didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't even notice. I think he just assumed that it was someone else trying to get an edge.
Hey, I don't blame you. 'Cause
Yeah.
he ruined your moment. What could have been?
I've never been so mad in my life.
I don't blame you.
I was a solid track runner, man. I ran the mile in 5:17.
Ooh, look at you.
5 minutes 17 seconds when I was still this height, 5'9", 5'10", and I was a $120.
Look at you. Yeah. I was never really satisfied with my 40 time when we used to do off-season football workout stuff.
What was it?
Not good.
Say it.
I don't even remember. It just wasn't as fast as I wanted it to be. And then even going up and hitting the thing, you know what I mean?
Oh God, yeah.
I was so embarrassed by that because I was not the tallest guy in the world. So I was jumping up and I could barely hit the thing, and everybody's like, "Come on, D-Pop," and I was like, "Fuck all of you."
Oh, dude, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah, didn't like that.
Hell no. I ran a 5.2 40. That was my 40 time back freshman year of football.
Nice.
Yeah, and I was at the start. I don't know what it was at the end, but that's the only time I've ever been clocked for a 40, so I remember it.
I want to say I ran like a 5.5, 5.7, and I remember my coach was like, "That's not fast enough, Papa." And I was like, "Can you say my name right?" Everybody in Texas, it was Papa. I was like, "It's Papa." Yeah, so fucking southern and white. Jesus.
Do we me and my friends that were playing on the football team, we we were kind of reminiscing, and we're like, hey, was some of the things those football coaches did, was that kind of like unethical?
Yeah.
And there was one, I forgot his first name, but they called him, because it rhymed, they called him Crotch. So they just called him Crotch. And then there was another guy who was his friend, and they literally called him Crotch's friend. Like, that's what they called it for the rest of the year. You're like, damn, that was kind of messed up.
Oh, dude, in Texas, God, coaches were brutal.
Yeah.
Just some of the things they would say, and it was different times. So yeah, you could imagine. But I remember one time I had a coach named Coach Burlingame, and one side of his face just didn't move. It wasn't like he had a stroke or anything or paralyzed. He just squinted, and he was kind of like the penguin. So we had to do this very complicated drill one time where we had to move from side to side and get back up and down. And I didn't pay attention at all. So I was just freestyling out there, and I was just doing whatever the fuck I was doing. And in front of everybody, my coach, just while he squinted and did like his penguin accent, he was like, "How the hell do you go home at night? You can't follow simple directions."
I miss those times.
Yeah. Back to track and field real quick.
Mm.
Speaking of falling, I thought about this. So Marcus Thompson's covering track and field because of Sakari Richardson for the Olympics.
Uh-huh.
Is there any reason why she has her nails so long? It's just who she is, and that's what she wants to do when she sprints?
That's how she expresses herself. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. But every time I see her, I do wonder if she fell. Ouch.
Yeah, that would hurt.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
hurt?
you better watch out.
Hey, but you know what? If you want to run with long nails, by all means, go for it. But
Yeah.
that would hurt.
Oh my God, yeah.
Like she has to brace
terrifying.
the fall. Ugh.
Terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. But hey, I hear she's really good, so it'll be interesting to watch her during the
Oh,
Olympics.
dude, she's awesome.
Yeah.
It's just the 100 meter just happened so quickly. I mean, literally, it's 10 seconds. There's just so much buildup, and then it's all just 9-10 seconds, then boom, you're out.
Yeah, it's quick.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of quick, let's go fast here, Steven. Should we do Jackass of the Week?
Sure.
All right. Do you have the clips I sent?
I do.
All right. Let's talk about. I gotta look up his name again. I forgot what it was. He is the head coach of Texas A&M baseball. His name is. It's kind of funky name.
Yeah, I don't know what his name. I don't know how to pronounce it.
It is. Oh, I clicked on something. It is Jim Schlossnagle. Jim Schlossnagle. He is the head coach of Texas A&M, my bitter rival, or used to be, but I still am actually. So Jim Schlossnagle just lost the College World Series, and there's rumors that he's going to leave Texas A&M to go coach the Texas Texas Longhorns, my alma mater, which is a big fucking deal in the state of Texas if you go from Aggie land to 40 acres. So here is Jim Schlossnagle answering if he's going to leave A&M after this hard loss.
Coach, with respect to the difficult outcome tonight, but with the rumors circulating today about a specific job opening, what do you have to say about your future in Aggieland?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. That'd be like you asking Montgomery if he's going to sign in the draft. But I understand you got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come take this job, and I've poured every ounce of my soul in this job, and I've given this job every single ounce I can possibly give it. So write that.
Coach, thank you very much.
Yeah, timing after a tough loss, I get that a little bit, but he didn't need to go grill, I'm sure, a young college student running, a story. So, yeah, okay, Jim doesn't want to answer about potentially leaving to go coach Texas. Cut to his introductory press conference where he took the Texas job, and he had a buyout of $2.8 million. So while he caused a big stink, in the end, Jim Schlossnagle ended up going to the University of Texas. Now, look, I know that I am a Texas man myself, and I hear that he's one of the best college baseball coaches in America, but you can't pull that shit if you do end up going to that team. And it's a big deal. Going from Texas A&M to Texas is huge. And we don't need to play the other clip, Steven. I'll just say, he basically said, I do understand why people are upset. It's fair to ask why I, reacted that way because it was right after a loss. But I also have to look out for my personal life too, which I understand, but also you don't need to cause a stink. All you need to say was no comment and then explain yourself when you take the job. You didn't need to do that.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. I think it's worthy of Jackass of the Week for sure, especially when he accepted the job.
Definitely. But I get it. Going from College Station to Austin, Texas, it's a big upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a Jackass of the Week?
So I have a couple of things here. Well, this one isn't a Jackass of the Week. I guess this is more who's the jackass in this situation.
Oh, I like this. Okay.
All right. And this specifically has to do with Barstool Sports. And for my money, as far as like their actual sports-related podcast, their hockey podcast, Spittin' Chicklets, is fantastic. Paul Bissonnette, Ryan Whitney, former players. Bissonnette, you could see him on TNT doing the pre and post and the halftime stuff. But their producer, RA, that's his initials, RA, otherwise known as Rear Admiral, who's a Boston guy through and through. He was rooting for the Oilers throughout this series openly. And this podcast is really, really popular, especially among the NHL. Like, players know them. It's very very respected too. But this guy, the producer, went on the ice, and after the Panthers won, and this was a little back and forth that he had. I believe this was with the brother of Matthew Tkachuk, but I could be wrong on who this was. But I just wonder, who's the jackass in the situation? Would it be the producer, or would it be the guy in his reaction?
Okay.
Fuck you! Why are you even out here? Fucking pro Oilers, the whole bandwagon jumping motherfucker.
So he got rejected.
Okay.
And he got rejected by multiple times. So who's the jackass in this situation? Is it those guys who are saying get off the ice, or is it him going on the ice after openly rooting against them for the whole series?
He's a credential media member, correct?
Correct.
And he's a pro Oiler guy.
Yes.
He has a podcast that's basically for the Oilers.
No, his podcast is all around hockey, but he was openly rooting for the Oilers to win.
I see. Okay. Well, that would be like, that would be like if, like, the Fox, post-game show, Terry Bradshaw was talking shit about the Chiefs and then had to give out the Vince Lombardi trophy to the Chiefs.
Right.
Or Charles Barkley talking shit about the Warriors, and then he interviews Steph or Clay after they win the championship. That's tough.
Right?
I would say it's not so much a jackass. It's just humiliating that he has to be out there and eat a lot of crow. But I wouldn't say it's a jackass thing.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's really a jackass in this situation.
I think it's warranted on both sides. He was very frustrated after, but you know what? I got to say, that takes guts, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people will call out different athletes, different organizations, but never show their face around said organization because they don't want the backlash. So I give credit to him for getting out there on the ice. But it's a podcast that I've told you about before. Spittin' Chicklets is fantastic.
Yeah, you can after it.
Those guys are different. But I will have an opposite of the jackass of the week, the nice guys of the week. I gotta say, watching these Florida Panthers celebrations, it's refreshing, very refreshing. They are going out and celebrating with the people. No security around. I don't know if you've seen any of it.
I haven't.
But there's a bar in Miami called Elbow Room, and Elbow Room has live cams of their bar at all times on YouTube. You can literally check it out right now. And they caught the Florida Panthers partying with the Stanley Cup, with Lord Stanley at the Elbow Room. It's nothing special. And they're partying with the people. It's just, you see all this stuff with the NBA champions. They go to some private club in Vegas, or the NFL champions, and they're all up on stage. But these hockey guys are just right there in the middle of it, hanging out all night. And then they're taking the Stanley Cup to the beach. I think Matthew Tkachuk literally brought the thing out into the ocean and swam with it. They're having so much fun. And I think it's really cool that they're celebrating with the people of the city.
That is very cool, and it's cool to see high profile. I shouldn't say high profile, but it's cool to see athletes hanging out with the fans and everything. But I will say this, Steven. Do you think if Edmonton won, they would be able to do the same thing in a very hockey crazy town? I think that the Florida Panther players are able to do that because in Florida, they're not the biggest draw. If the Heat won or the Dolphins won, That'd be a bigger deal. They're able to walk around because no one really follows hockey in Florida.
There's quite a few people that do, but you're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right about that. But I still think it's cool. I still think it's
No,
very,
very cool.
regardless. And there's no security. There's no nothing. They're just walking around having a good time with the people.
Have they done their parade yet?
No, that's on Sunday.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, well we'll be here Sunday and we'll react because I'm sure Paul Maurice is going to have a fucking fantastic speech.
Oh, so good.
And I said fucking because he's probably going to drop some F-bombs.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of my favorite parts is in the middle of his ESPN interview, right at the start when they're trying to get him. He hoists the cup and literally he just yells, even though ESPN's right there with the microphone, he yells like 6 or 7 different times. Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Okay, last thing before we get out of here. We haven't done this in a while. Kind of pop culture catch-up-ish. But let's do a little trailer reaction, Steven.
Ooh.
So I saw this today for a movie coming out later this year called Here. And it's Robert Zemeckis, who directed Forrest Gump and Castaway and Flight, a lot of movies with Tom Hanks. And this is a new movie he's doing with Tom Hanks and Robin Wright, who are reunited for the first time since Forrest Gump. So this is the trailer for Here.
Hey, Dad. I'd like you to meet Margaret.
Nice to meet you, Margaret.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Young.
Time sure does fly, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Take a straight and stronger course to the corner of your life. Make the White Queen run so fast. She hasn't got time to make you. Cause it's time in time with your time and his news is captured.
Right here is where we want to be. You know, if you like, you could spend the rest of the night here.
I could spend the rest of my life here.
It's time in time with your time and his news is captured.
This was our home. We lived here.
What do you think, Steven?
The hell was that?
So basically, the movie is going to be shot in one location the entire time. And I guess, from the way the trailer looks, it starts from the beginning of time when dinosaurs roam the earth to then that house being built, to Tom Hanks being a young man, to then being an old man with Jenny, Robin Wright. So it's going to stay on one location for the entire time.
It's bold.
It's bold. It kind of reminded me of not the same thing, but what was the movie called? A Boy's Life with
Boyhood.
Boyhood, yeah, where it showed him growing up, and it was that was different because they actually filmed throughout the course of I think 14 years. This is not as bold as that, but to stay on just one location, you're gonna have the characters just stay in the same room the entire time. I don't know if audiences are going to dig it, but this is very interesting to me. I'd probably check this out.
Hey man, great directors can do it. I just watched Rear Window for the first time. You ever seen that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly shot in that one apartment, just looking out to that complex and all those different little rooms and all those different little storylines. I think Zemeckis is kind of going for the same thing here.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of speechless. This aging technology that they're bringing into the movies now.
Yeah.
It's like we're really lacking in actor star power if they're still bringing in all these older actors who give us these feelings of yesteryear. I mean, it's like, does Tom Hanks and Robin Wright really need to star in this? I think they're just in it because of Forrest Gump.
Oh, of course. And they know Robert Zemeckis, but yeah, them playing younger versions of themselves and then they'll play older versions of themselves. It's yeah. The de-aging stuff is a little too much.
Can you imagine like any cameos that go by? Like they got like Lieutenant Dan who just wheels himself along the sidewalk, or like, I don't know, Back to the Future. And yeah, right. Everyone's Back to the Future. You have like Doc Brown and Marty McFly.
Or Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah.
This volleyball used to be here when I was a kid.
Right?
Yeah.
Something
That would be
like
interesting.
that. Just do all of Tom Hanks's movies.
Speaking of de-aging or, you know, using technology, AI, shit like that, did you see what's going on with Al Michaels in the Olympics?
Yes.
I mean, wow. So, for those that don't know, Al Michaels will be giving a recap, a daily recap of what's going on at the Olympics. And it's going to be done quite frequently to catch everybody up to speed on Peacock. Thing is, it's not actually Al Michaels. It is a AI generated voice of Al Michaels. And if you've heard the clip, it sounds just like Al Michaels. And Al Michaels hasn't worked for NBC since Super Bowl 56. And they decided to do this thing without him. But they got his blessing. He actually signed off on the whole thing and said it's incredible how much it sounds like me. But if I was Al, I'd be like, this is kind of going down a slippery slope here. You're going to use my voice that's not actually me. And I know like a lot of people that, you know, are in the voice game are going to be like, shit, I don't know if I like this. That being said, Al can just live his life and, you know, not have to worry about doing this every day and collect a paycheck. But to me, this is, I understand what, you know, SAG was fighting for and the use of AI generated shit. This is going down a slippery slope. I don't know if I like all this.
I don't like it at all.
No.
Al Michaels is alive. Use Al Michaels.
Yep.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, don't like it. All right, Steven, that's all I got for tonight. Anything else?
Maybe the guy who is signing off on it is like, can we get Al Michaels, and accidentally read the L as I. They're like, ooh, AI Michaels. That's a good idea.
Yep. And then Al Michaels was like, do I believe in miracles? Yes. Write me a check.
Yeah, right. He's going to be swimming in a bathtub full of money.
Yes. He'll be fine.
He's going to be bathing in Cristal during the Olympics, watching the track and field, not even taking any inventory of what. What?
I just don't like the image of Al Michaels bathing in Cristal.
Yeah, not a great image. Sorry.
Yeah. But, you know, we say this now, and Al Michaels is a legend. But come football season, he's doing Thursday Night Football with Kirk Herbstreit. We're going to be hoping it was an AI-generated voice.
Yeah.
And on that note, thanks everybody in the chat. Tacky, Ernie 1, Ernie 2, Otis Bird is the word, AJ Cruz. I don't know if I saw Jesse in here tonight. I don't think she was in the chat. But I want to say I saw Danny Golding TV, Skills. Thank you guys as always. And please, 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 if you really want to see what's going on in NBA free agency, maybe say goodbye to Klay Thompson for the last time. Yeah, it's all going down this Sunday at 3 o'clock. And me and Steven will be live. And it may get emotional, it may get sad, but we will be prepared. We will be prepared for whatever happens with Klay Thompson come Sunday. So we'll see you then. And on that note, Steven, say what you always say.
It is just our opinion. Man.